We have discussed Gauss's law in the previous section. We have identified this D as electric flux density. In case of presence of any material, we have replaced the electric field with this electric flux density, and Gauss's law reads like this. And the integration of this electric flux density on a Gaussian surface, we call this Gaussian surface as S. And if Q is the Q enclosed is the total charge enclosed by the surface, then the integration of this dot product of flux density and the surface, infinitesimally small surface, is Q enclosed. And if a charge is distributed inside a volume, over a volume, then this Q enclosed can be written like this. Rho V is the volume charge density. We have applied Gauss's law in case of infinite line charge. We have applied for an infinite sheet of charge. That is, we have applied in the previous class. Actually, these are the theoretical things. These are very ideal. This infinite line of charge, infinite sheet of charge. In practice, we can never have infinite line of charge or infinite sheet of charge. So why we did this? Because in case of a very long line charge distribution, or in case of a very widespread sheet of charge distribution, we can readily approximate this as the results we just discussed. So that was the basic motivation of discussing infinite line charge and infinite sheet of charge in case of application of Gauss's law. Now we can apply Coulomb's law also, because if we have some charge enclosed over here and if we apply Coulomb's law, that is also okay, but then the calculation will be a little bit tedious. So in order to make our life simpler, we basically switched over to Gauss's law instead of Coulomb's law. And if we consider a spherical surface, then we know that if this is a positive charge, then the lines of forces are going outward. If this is a negative charge, it would be rather in the opposite direction. And if the electric flux density is along radial direction, because in case of sphere, we have infinite number of radius. So dr is the electric flux density along the radial direction, and as it's a sphere, so the surface area can be called as 4 pi r square, where r is the radius of the sphere. So this integration looks like this one. Now one thing I would like to specify to you is suppose I want to choose a volume, this V, because I need to perform this integration on the right hand side of the equation. So I need to first choose the volume. How we choose the volume? Can we choose a volume V which has no relation with the surface S? Suppose we have chosen the surface S and we have chosen the volume over here. Is this possible? Is this allowed? No. It's absolutely not allowed. You cannot apply Gauss's law if where you have chosen the surface at one place and the volume of integration at some other place. This is completely formidable. The surface must enclose this volume. That is the prime requisite of Gauss's law. Then we are going to consider here is a spherical shell of charge. It's first we are considering an hollow shell of charge. It's like a tube of tire, of motor tires. It's like that because that tube is made of rubber sheet, and inside that rubber sheet there is air only, and you can easily approximate that air as vacuum. So this spherical shell of charge distribution is something like that. And if we consider this spherical shell of charge, and if this shell of charge is conducting, then all the charges must reside at the surface, as the shell is a conductor. And the surface charge density can be called as rho s, Coulomb per meter square. If the shell is of radius r, then it's this surface area must be 4 pi r square. Now if we choose, suppose we have this is a very general discussion. If we have a shell kind of thing and all the charges are residing at the surface of the shell, as this shell is a conductor. Now if we consider a rectangular surface, these are the electric field vectors. Just it is spreading over all directions, over all infinite radial directions. So if we consider a rectangular surface, the main obstruction comes here at the tip, here at the corner of the rectangle. We have a component of E or D, and this component can be resolved into parallel and perpendicular component, as this is a vector quantity, which makes our life a little bit difficult, a little bit complex. We can do that. We can still apply Gauss's law. Actually, we can apply Gauss's law for any kind of surface, but my intuition is to basically choose a spherical type of surface, because then our performing the integration will be much easier than if we choose an arbitrary surface. But don't misunderstand me, please, because please do not have any kind of notion that Gauss's law cannot be applied for arbitrary surfaces. Yes, it can be applied, but in order to make our integration simpler, we are choosing a spherical surface. Similarly, in order to make this integration simpler, we are further make a choice that this D is perpendicular to the surface, so that the integration on the left hand side of the Gauss's law, which states that integration over D dot ds, that vanishes, because that again simplifies the problem. Now suppose we are inside the spherical shell, then what will happen? Suppose we have chosen this surface area S1. This could have any radius between 0 to A. If we consider radius of this S1 surface R, then this R can be 0 when we are here, and this radius can be up to A when the S1 coincides with this surface. So as long as we are inside the sphere and the charges are residing on the surface of this spherical shell, this integration turns out to be 0. Now suppose we are trying to find out, that is as the integration itself is equal to 0, does that mean that the electric flux density is also 0? That is a very important question here. Now, if we want to look into the incremental surface area DSR for spherical symmetry, that looks like this. This is quite familiar with us. We have discussed this earlier. And because of the spherical symmetry, this electric flux density component, this R, this D, will be along a radial direction only. There will be no theta or phi direction. And this dr is also constant of integration. It is constant because R is constant. Anywhere you stand on the surface of this shell, R is constant. So dr is also constant of integration, and dr can be taken outside. So this integration gives me, this integration is basically the integration of dr and the area. So we can take this dr outside the integration. So integration of this area is equal to 0. Now area cannot be equal to 0 because this is not a point. This is a shell which has a non-zero area. So dr must be equal to 0. And if dr is equal to 0, then electric field which is related to dr with the help of this relation is also equal to 0. Next, what happens if we take our Gaussian surface outside the actual shell of charge? Suppose this S2 is the Gaussian surface. It has enclosed this spherical shell of charge. Now obviously in this case electric field is radially outward, and it is also constant on any point of this S2 surface. So here we have the condition where the radius of the S2 surface R is greater than A. A is the radius of the spherical shell of charge. Left hand side of the Gauss's law looks like this. Now integration is over the S2 surface. It is also spherical of radius r. So we have 4 pi r square, and that is equal to Q enclosed. Q enclosed is of course rho s 4 pi a square, because A is the radius of this shell and the charge is distributed on the surface of radius A. And this S2 has completely enclosed this all of these charges. Equating this equal to this, what I obtained is dr equal to rho s a square by r square. Similarly, electric field is this one. Now what if we shrink the radius of S2? That means we shrink the radius r of the Gaussian surface and then coincide it with the radius of the shell. Then the electric field becomes, here we need to put r equal to a, so electric field is now er epsilon 0 rho s. So we have this situation. First we had the S1 surface. This is the shell, and then we have the S2 surface here. Here we have S1 surface. Now we, if we expand this S1 surface, then until we reach this shell where the charges are situated, electric field is identically equal to 0, but here the electric field is constant, and that is epsilon 0 rho s. And after that, electric field also has this value, non-zero value. So here is a discontinuity, that is when I am here in this region inside this shell, so I have zero field, and at the shell I have a very finite value of this electric field. So there is a discontinuity in the electric field. We will see this kind of discontinuities when we discuss boundary conditions.